Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to V with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Durango, the show of beach education, moving around, and so much more. Today, we're talking to one of the co-founders of Maguey Spirits, Alejandro Rossbach. He just moved to Austin. He's from Mexico City. Really entrepreneurial minded, and we talk about this journey, which is incredible and fateful in a lot of ways. You know, you keep moving forward in life and you don't necessarily know what's behind that next door, and then you see it and you said, well, I'll make something happen with this. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Alejandro Rossbach of Maguey Spirits.
I actually played guitar and I was the singer of a rock band.
Were you really?
Yeah, I mean, it was teenage years though, but it was really fun. That's for sure.
You have, it's funny is you do have kind of the front man vibe, with the hair and stuff.
It was definitely so much fun. It was I started playing guitar, so I was doing like guitar, and then we created our own songs, and sort of singing as well. But I was just high school fun.
Did you all think about touring and stuff?
Not at the level. So we just like were more at just like beginning and just having fun, and then like playing at school and
nice. Mexico City?
There, and actually in Cancun.
In Cancun?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I lived in Cancun for 9 years.
Is that where you were born?
I was born in Mexico City, and then when I was 10, my mother moved to Cancun.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you folks together or no?
No, my dad passed away when we were quite young, so I was pretty much from that point we moved to Cancun.
I see.
So yeah. And so my mom was more relaxed than in Mexico City. Right?
Oh, really?
Because it's just for a family in Mexico City, it's more just like tough, the vibe and the city, you know?
Yeah.
So when my dad thing happened, it was a car accident. So brother of my mom, he lived in Cancun, and we spent all the summers in Cancun anyway. So we were like, what, Cancun? Yes, please. Nice. So it was like a new beginning, a good place.
You a beach guy?
Yeah, it was. We lived pretty much beachfront. Mm-hmm. So I was doing wakeboarding, surfing, tennis as well. A lot of outdoors activities.
Man, so with all these kinds of interests, and of course we're going to get into how you started Maguey Spirits and everything, but it sounds like you could have went in many directions, Totally, I agree. And to be honest, like Agave Spirits wasn't even in the picture back then. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's always been more about the service industry. So always. Because did you study hotel management?
I did. Yeah. So yes, even when I was younger, like my friends' dads or fathers had worked in hotels, so it was super fun for me to go to visit and work and figure out people and talk about my country.
Yeah.
So that was my angle. Always people. But I didn't know what to do like with that. Mm. And so I studied hotel management. And that was like, wow, this is definitely something I want to do. Yeah. But definitely not working at a front desk and, working the 9 to 5 or even worst schedules. And after my internship that I had in Spain, in Barcelona, I came back to Mexico City, and it was like, man, I want to do something, but to explain about my country instead of,
Interesting.
So that was the approach. I love people, and it's just something. So why, instead of traveling and why don't I give a piece of Mexico to everyone instead of going to try to get a piece of everyone in those countries and visiting them and bringing them to Mexico, the other way around.
It's an incredible pursuit, and I imagine that you're filled with pride for your country.
Mm-hmm. Totally, and Because Mexico, it's, you know, even as Mexicans, we have a malinchismo, which is like always outside of Mexico, it's better. And honest, to be honest, it happened to me and to most of the people in Mexico. Like, no, the US is better, Europe is better. So as much as I started traveling and seeing, I was like, no. I mean, this, you know, for sure Europe has its own stuff, the US has, but there's nothing like Mexico. And that was like probably my key point being in Barcelona, to say, like, honestly, you try to look for something better outside, but basically what you have, it's always the best.
That's such it's a brilliant sense of humility, in a sense, right?
Totally.
We treat it differently in the States. We're always just looking upward and onward, right? We never really. Now that's not how everybody is, but so many people they don't appreciate where they come from or what they have. You know,
that's it.
And tell me, I mean, I have my perspective on why I love Mexico. One of the things being the communal aspect, the caring, the taking care of each other, all of the community. But for you, what are some of the things that truly make it your place?
Yeah. And that's a great question. And I think I discovered that upon being abroad. And it's first of all, the people, the essence that we illustrate with Burrito Fiestero brand is like the essence of mi casa es tu casa. Really, the hospitality that we as Mexicans have, it's probably one of the strongest hospitalities that I've experienced through all of the villages and all of the other countries. So that's something, first of all, the people really are put you first before them. So I mean, if there's not even for food in a house and you go to these villages or whatever in Mexico, they invite you and they just put a plate and split the meal by another one, and they're just so happy to be sharing with you. So the passion, the people, the natural resources, and I mean, we have everything in Mexico. We have the best beaches in the world. We have deserts. We have even mountains with snow. The best reefs to go and dive in Cozumel. So it's so diverse, not only in the people, but in the languages, in the natural resources, in the diversity. So that's basically some of the things that taught me to love and feel the pride way more than I used to do. And it even got me to know more about my country. Be totally fair. That's
the thing, is that if sometimes you can look within and you can grow as a person. In fact, that's probably one of the only ways you can grow as a person, to keep kind of understanding, introspection. But sometimes if you just open another door in where you're from, you'll find something else beautiful. You know, I recently found out about the salt mines in Colima. And it's like, oh, yet another thing that Mexico has. You know, it's just such this rich tapestry of people, of places, of flavors.
It's crazy. The food, I mean, the culture as well. And growing up in Cancun, this part of my life, in when I was young, all the Aztec, Mixtec influence in Mexico City. Then, you know, going to the Yucatan Peninsula, and you see all this heritage, like ancestral millennium heritage from the Mayans. And all the civilizations, all that they did in all these regions of Uxmal, Tulum, Chichen Itza, it's just impressive. And the more that you travel, just as you mentioned, Colima, then you'll find a different thing. You're like, wow, there's like this monuments, and it's so much history, so much diversity, the influence of the Spaniards, the influence of there was, I don't know the number, but I believe more than 100 different indigenous tribes within the country. The different dialects, so it's just so much that is just amazing. And that was like the step point that, okay, this and Mezcal actually got us, my brother and I, even more connected to our country and appreciating and even just changing our perception, because when you change the way you look at things, you know, the things you look at change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was an eye opener, and it has been just great experiences,
life-changing. Sounds like. Were you because I feel like your deep interest in history as well, was that ever on the table for you too? Studying history or studying art and things like
question. I always loved history. I love art, I appreciate it, but I'm not like a art geek whatsoever. But I love history, so it's super interesting for always, since and where did this came from, and what happened with this. So that's always been super intriguing for me. and Mezcal has allowed it to, go even more and further to keep that on the mind all the time.
Yeah, it does. It kind of, because it connects, so it's not a new thing, right?
That's it.
It's been around a while, and so it has so much to be unearthed about it. But and this is kind of tangential, but so you're trilingual, if I understand.
Yep.
When did the need for speaking French come up for you?
Yeah, good. So my father spoke 5 languages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What did he do, by the way?
He was an engineer, an industrial engineer, and he was actually in technology. My grandfather opened the first sort of a microscope industry in Latin America.
Oh, wow.
So my father was there. He was working. He was an engineer. And then, super different from what my brother and I are doing.
Yeah.
But so he traveled a lot. Same thing. He was traveling to Brazil, Japan. So he spoke Japanese, Portuguese, German, French, Spanish, English. So it was pretty much, even Japanese, not 100%, but it was 5.5 languages pretty much.
That's
so
phenomenal.
It's crazy. Yeah. And so for my mother, it was really important for us to speak at least 3 languages, right? So she sent us, we were lucky enough to go to Canada, and we studied in Quebec for a year.
You did study abroad there, or would exchange student?
Yeah, it was, how do you call this? You go to a family?
Exchange
student. Yeah, pretty much I was exchange
That's
student.
fascinating.
So, we were in a different family, each of my sister, my brother, and I, when we were in high school, and we went, my sister almost spent 3 years in Quebec. I only did 1, my brother did 2. And
wow.
But I really kept the French. I love the language. And then in Spain, I was living with a French guy, so I took more the French approach, not only the Quebecois, which was fun. But yeah, languages are amazing because you get a deeper understanding of the culture and the people.
What is, and I was just interviewing someone that you got to meet. He's gonna be moving into town too.
Okay.
And he loves language, and I can understand that. But for me, it's because of the music behind language. For you, is it the structure? Is it the eloquent, how it sounds?
Good. Well, first is because I love to understand and challenge. So first is what language does appeal to me the most, not only because of the frequency and of the pitch and of the beauty, but also what do I sort of catch faster? Because that's, and French, it was easier for me. In the beginning, for sure, it's tough. But now that for example, that I know French, Italian, it's the language that I would love to learn. While living in Barcelona, Catalan, has this French influence in Spanish. So I was always trying to get the Catalan. But it's for sure the pitch of the language. I mean, again, German, for example, I would love to speak German, but it's such a it's strong,
a weird,
rude, not rude, but
it's
more
angular.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's a tougher language, not only to learn, but in the way to speak. So definitely Italian would be my 4th, if I had to choose.
Because you've done it. How long do you think it really takes to get
a language?
Good, yeah.
And again, it's so
that's subjective.
Oh yeah, if you moved abroad to a country that spoke the language that you want to learn, and you're taking lessons, probably at least minimum 3 months of daily 100% depending on the language.
Sure.
This would be Italian or Portuguese if you speak Spanish or
Yeah.
But a minimum of 6 months, to be honest.
That's a goal. I think I'm going to do that because it just, I feel, and I don't know if a lot of Norteños feel this way or Gringos or whatever, but I owe it to the art to be able to communicate. Now I can communicate in Spanish about booze, right?
Yeah,
that's one thing.
Yeah.
But what about love? What about art? What about all these other things that I really love?
Exactly.
And so it's really inspiring to hear that you love language. That my friend Cesar loves language.
Oh yeah.
Because we're both vocalists.
Totally.
We know that it's like singing.
Oh yes. It's amazing. And honestly, I just being able to connect in a more just straightforward way, that's probably my most favorite thing. Just being able to arrive to friends and give a master class and talk about what we're doing in Durango and, you know, what's happening in their same language, get able to pass that message along in the most efficient way. That's what drives me and what excites me.
It's incredible, man, because it's really like about empathy, because you're thinking about other people, you know, and making sure that they're good.
That's it.
And, you know, we both started businesses. We're both in the booze industry. There was a moment which it occurred to me what that should be. And I always wanted to make something. You know, I didn't want to make an app or anything like that. I wanted to, like, we were sipping the Mars Burrito from Burrito and we're touching it. Yeah. We're tasting it. We're experiencing it. There's no way around this connection with that. And so that was one of the things for me. But, you know, you're coming out and did you finally say, I know now it's time for me to go on my own? Now, I know you got partners and stuff, but what was that moment where you kind of got that clarity?
Yeah. So the clarity, I got it from Barcelona, that I was like, first of all, I know that I want to just give it a switch. Instead of, you know, me being abroad, I want to bring the people to Mexico, to love Mexico. Yeah. And what way would that be, you know? Mm-hmm. And the second one was actually not trying to sorry for that. I'm just trying to put it in words. So the moment, it was actually like, I cannot have the living that I want and express and sell my country if I'm being in a front desk. So I love, it was one of my favorite actually works, being in a front desk of a hotel. You learn so much stuff, and you are able to deal and help a lot of people. But that was the moment. And as soon as I got back to Mexico, I was like, what can I do with the resources that I have, which are none?
That's the eternal question. Yeah.
But, you know, I know that outside people are interested in my country, that agave, it's starting to grow. No, mezcal is not quite there yet, and my brother, he's super different to me.
Mm-hmm. He's younger?
He's my partner, so we are 50 and 50. Mm-hmm. And he's younger than me. He has always been like an old soul. Yeah. But he's 27. I'm 31 right now. And actually, so we were super diverse. So I'm more the creative, the sort of crazy guy, and I have so many ideas. But sometimes it's good to have more the engineer structure. Yes, right. Of course, to be able to land the projects. And Christian, my brother, he's an engineer. He studied also like economics, so he has he's more like a structured guy. Yeah, he's always good in, you know, excellent grades, and you imagine what type, the good boy.
Believe me,
yeah, I was the rebel, always getting in trouble, the pain of the family. But in my brother, he was always the good guy, the good grades, the good, you know. Yeah. And finally, like when I got back, from Spain, we actually got to say like, okay, Christian, so you're good with numbers. You can do accountant. You can, and I'm good with sales. I'm good with people. Why don't we do something? And we actually started at first like a little business of selling food to casinos that we managed to.
Where are the casinos?
In Mexico City.
There's casinos in there? I didn't know that. Like big stuff like we have in Vegas?
Well, no.
Not like that, right?
Not like that. Just imagine smaller casinos, but a big chain. Oh, okay. And we were able to start sourcing, you know, like, okay, they need something, let's try it. And I got it. And so we started doing a few products. And so that was a moment when we saw that we could work together, and it was like just perfect, because we know the work ethic of both of us. Mm-hmm. We know the responsibility of each one, and it was just so good, because he's good in this, he was doing that. I'm good with this, I was doing that.
That's the best way.
And that's the best way.
Divide and
conquer.
You
can trust. I mean, if you don't trust in your brother, who else could you trust, right? Right. So it's just like so natural. We're roomies, partners, friends. So it's been so easy since that moment. And then we passed actually to mezcal when we say, okay, so we needed the casino thing to be able to get a bit of money going on. Okay, yeah. Honestly, I believe we managed to save about 4,000 or 5,000 each.
Okay, yeah.
Which was good at the time. You know, we were just two young kids, guys, but for sure not enough to start a mezcal brand. And then, so we suddenly, a cousin of my dad he got remarried to the daughter of a maestro.
Really?
Yeah, from La Colula.
Oh, okay.
But actually, I don't know what happened, but he ended up doing mezcal in San Pablo, Huixtepec, in Cimatlan.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, we went for him to advise, to say, okay, so we want to do this. What do you think? We would be very excited. We don't care to start with a few bottles. And he was like, no, okay, I'm busy with my other business. I just launched a mezcal brand a year ago.
He did?
Yes.
What?
To help like the father of the maestro, of her new wife. And but he wasn't working the mezcal brand. Basically, he just launched and he put it in La Europea and a few other places, and he was more busy in his other business. So he was like, man, join me, the brand's already there, we could probably partner on along the way, but you can just start working for me and we can grow the brand together.
Interesting.
And so that was the train, and that was probably the best school ever, because we weren't paid. So, all right, yeah. But it was free school. That's how we see it, because we basically got the chance to manage to do all the way Christian was doing the process. Always he's been focused and intrigued more about the production process. Exactly, the maestro and that type of the process. And I was doing the international sales. I was closing supermarkets in Mexico, and so we were working nonstop without any budget whatsoever, but we were making it happen. So basically in 3 years, we worked hard, really 3 years of getting the brand. And we were the first mezcal sold in Israel with a kosher certification.
Really?
We did some fun stuff that we were like, wow, it's been a difficult, crazy, but we learned a lot of the, not only the business side of the industry, which was really good and important, but also about the production part and all. And so it was a time for us to take our, because we wanted to do some things, but he was more stubborn, like, no, this is working, let's stick to this. And we're like, no, let's do this other agaves, there's more regions, why don't we do this, why don't we do that? No, like, probably, but no. So it was like, no, this is not going to happen with Mezcaliba, which was the name of the brand. This is Mezcaliba, is from here, let's take it that way, we're doing good, blah blah blah. And at the end, he got an offer from Minerva, the brewery, and he sold the company.
Oh, really? So it's good that you guys left in a sense, right?
Yeah, so it was actually that moment when we said, okay, so I mean, God's plans, it just happened. So it's good, because this was a way to say, okay, this is actually when we need to do our own thing.
Yeah, so you had the knowledge now, both operationally and from a production procedure, and getting the infrastructure globally, which is really
correct,
a huge piece of it. But so you probably still need money.
Oh yeah, good question. Yeah. So So we had those savings from the other from the previous.
With the casinos, right? Did you stop doing that once you started doing mezcal?
We actually started we continued, but as we were focused 100% in mezcal, that suddenly fade.
Got it. Okay.
Fade away. And we also had like some. We were one of the first Uber cars in Mexico.
Oh.
So we were like really entrepreneurial since very young, and we got some money from that business back then. Like we were the 7th registered vehicle of Uber. So it was just a fun thing. So we basically managed to probably save around 250,000 pesos, which is like 12 and a half grand. So back to the question, we still needed to get the money, right? But what did we do? So limited resources, we needed a great location. Yeah. And we first started with, okay, if we have a good product and a good project, we can get the money. That's always my
I bet y'all have the charm too, right?
Well, at least we work hard, and we can. I know that I can get it when you get that determined. So we did we wanted a different region from Oaxaca, different agaves, and we actually ended up after a road trip through most of the DO of mezcal states, including Michoacán, Guerrero, Guanajuato. And Michoacán was one of the states that we said, man, this is a great place. the agave states. We were trying Inaquidens, Cupreata, great agaves, but it was just more complicated in most of the aspects. Like it was back then, it was really dangerous. The agave supply wasn't really well, at least where the places that we visited.
Yeah.
You know, it was lacking something or enough agave supply, or, you know, it was not quite
the way it wasn't like it is now, because
exactly
it's a hub for mezcal now. So the infrastructure, maybe roads are there.
Oh yeah,
I know nurseries are there now. You know, but none of that stuff was around.
Exactly, but back I'm talking 2013.
Oh yeah.
Back then it was more tough, you know, and the producers that we really loved, the production capacities were like 500 liters every 2 months.
Oh wow.
So that was like, man, I cannot, you know, do an international brand if I don't have enough capacity. And that was just like not only because of the steels, but most of the infrastructure that he has. And they were like, this is what we do.
It's actually, because I think I know the answer to this, but you could have easily gone into Santiago Matatlan.
Oh, yeah.
And personally, I don't like mezcal from that region for the most part. But what was it about Oaxaca that you said, okay, cool, but we got to go elsewhere?
That's it. And yeah, great question. And I think it goes back again to my sort of discovery Marco Polo personality, that I've always liked to travel and see abroad. Again, mezcal has 9 states of the DO. And in 85% or 95%, I'm not sure of the stats, but around that are Oaxacan based. So, you know, why was that everyone was only doing Espadín, Oaxaca, Premium, or even other wild agaves, but only Oaxaca? And from my point of view, there was like, there's more to see. There's more to bring up to the table, and I want to be one of those people to put that out to the market
and explore.
Explore.
I love that.
You know, because and you know it more than anyone. Wherever you go to this most remote places and you find mezcal, it's just like, man,
it's incredible.
Wow, it's incredible, because there's no much pollution, and there's, you know, even different techniques, and the, you know, the process is different, and the agave plant, new agave plants, and it's like, wow. And that was like the part that we wanted to bring something different that it was more simple. You know, always the difficult roads lead to better places, and
completely agree.
And it was for sure more difficult. All the process, like not only the first thing, but the first years. It was even until this point, even now, like the Comercam just goes to Durango. The Durango is just one guy going to all the binatas, right, so you pretty much get one visit a month, while in Oaxaca you could get like
a week or something,
a weekly visit or something. So it's all more difficult, more expensive to send all your supplies, etc. But we finally found in Durango. We actually started with Alfredo Conde, which we were seeing a bottle. He showed us some places in Nicolás Romero, some places in Mezquital, some places towards the Mazatlan, like the Zona Caliente, Nombre de Dios. And at the end, we ended up starting the brand with him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Like with the guy that was showing us, because he was the president of the Sistema Producto Maguey, which was like a independent agave council, which was not affiliated to Comercam.
In Mexico wide?
In Mexico wide,
oh, wow.
But he was based in Durango.
I see.
So he was, and at the end we decided to work with him because we actually loved the mezcal he was doing, and the communication, the relationship was great. But we go back to the question, we didn't have money. So basically, long story short, my brother and I took the opportunity. There was a trip, an exposition in London, a fair called what was the name? One of the biggest fairs in London. I don't recall the name right now. Not Bibendum. Bibendum is the distributor, but one of the biggest shows in London of spirits. So Pro Mexico, which was the Mexican government, sort of had this special, support to local or young producers.
Yeah.
And then we were able to get this
like a grant.
Well, it's not even a grant. It's just like you get some amount of money for free to assist and try to get business.
Okay.
to Mexico.
That's great.
So yeah, at least it ended up like just costing just a very like 20% of the total cost. So that was amazing. And we actually just did a first batch of even less than 100 to 300 bottles. Wow. Tops. 100 bottles. That was the original investment and the initial investment in batch. And we took the MG, the botanical, we took Cenizo, Burrito Cenizo, and that was our only shot. So it was like the sailor that arrives to, and it's like, this is my only bullet. And we were able to close a distribution in the UK with that trip. And it was pretty much pre-sold because we didn't have anything but those bottles that we were showing at the expo. So
I see. So that basically, because that's basically a letter of intent that
correct.
Then investors can be like, oh, y'all got guaranteed sales.
Correct. Okay, so with that, we got a grant from a friend of my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister. We got a small loan for production, and that's how we basically started the business. That's incredible. And and it has been, how this is. I always tell Mezcal, it's just a marathon. It's just a long, long run. If you're here just for the money, you need to be a massive celebrity, and not even probably. But this is, again, just more a passionate, long run.
Well, it's too difficult to do it just for money.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't love it, it's like being in a loveless marriage. Oh, you're just there, and there's no exchange. You know what I mean? That's it.
Because some people say like, oh, maybe Chilangos, from Mexico City, you came here, you're here for the money. You're like, man, you have no idea. I promise if I would take another job, whatever job, would have more money than what I'm like making or gaining right now. This is, again, just a lifetime project.
That's incredible.
And that's the idea of going step by step. And it's until now that we are finalizing our own little vinatas with their own, input.
Yeah. Well, it's, and I, because you showed me some pictures of this thing, so we definitely got to talk about it because there's some just remarkable things going on there. But we've been sipping on this. So the first time I had your mezcal, Burrito Mezcal, is I was at Suerte, and they do these Mezcal Mondays. And so they did a flight of this Marsperio, which we're drinking, and then the Cenizo. Yeah. And I tried them both, and I was like, just of the two for me anyway, I was like, this Marsperio it's insane how beautiful it is.
Thank you.
But then I went back, and they said, oh yeah, it's clay distilled. And I kind of said, what the fuck, really? Because I had, despite all the bottles I got out there, I don't think any of them are clay distilled. And so tell me a little bit about the process here. We know about clay distillation, but like, where is this happening? How is this an idea?
Great. So just to go a few little steps back. So we actually started working with Alfredo, correct? Mm-hmm. That I was telling you, our master producer in Pino Suarez, Durango. Mm-hmm. So then along the way and starting to grow, we sort of initially wanted to partner with him to be able to have our own input as well.
Nice.
He has his, but as you know,
it's tough.
It's tough sometimes, and it's just fun to be able to participate. Because we're
you
working
like it,
together.
You love it,
and you love it, and you just want to put what if we do this here or do that here or this control of quality or and
hand me a tambourine, just let me play the song.
That's it, whatever. And he didn't want to partner, so we were like sourcing from him. He was just producing, and eventually his cousin was helping us as well, distilling with the botanicals and stuff. So at the end, after a few years of working together, he was like, no, I'm going to stay with my brand in Pino Suarez. We're still friends and we can still collaborate with a lot of things. But I want to stay in my place. And his cousin was like, man, if I can have the opportunity of be your maestro, because he was already distilling and it's part of the same family. So if I can become your maestro, and I would be honored. I would love to bring my kid to work with me again, and he's a bit older, so his kid is just like already like in that age of distilling, and then we were finally able, after 8 years of working, to be able to put our own thing with the same family and maestro that we were already working, and in the other side of the mountain. Yeah. So it's just a perfect thing for us to be able to maintain that same sort of route of where we started, but with our own input and in this magical place that we found.
It's like a new generation in a way, right? It's an old generation, but it's new because and I see this pattern, right, where your uncle or whomever that originally brought you into
uncle,
your uncle, right, to get you into mezcal,
and
you're like, hey, let's try some stuff, and he's like, nope, I've got my box, I'm gonna stay in it. And
Correct.
Then you go and you start working with another producer in Durango, the same thing. So you keep hitting your head against the wall.
That's it.
But you know why that is? Because you want to innovate. Mm-hmm. And as an entrepreneur, if you don't have that muscle to try to change the system or try to work within it and do new things,
totally,
you shouldn't even be doing it.
Totally.
So this is something I feel incredibly kindred in this moment, because that's how I feel. And so you guys do it. You find someone who's willing to collaborate, and you find somebody that's probably working with new agaves and new procedures. And how did that first kind of collaboration go?
So in the second chapter, So it was amazing, because right now my brother, again, he was always wanting to get his feet in the process, and to be able to also put some of his own input and magic to the spirit. So it's been amazing, because we actually started rebuilding this abandoned place build. It's not a hacienda, it's like an old chapel built by the Franciscans. We call it la hacienda because it's basically like a little town with a Spanish influence as well. But it was underground basically, and during pandemic we actually started rebuilding it from scratch with our own agave waste.
Wow.
So not only from
bricks, what kind of bricks?
Bricks, exactly. So it's adobe bricks. So basically it's just agave de vinazas. So all the acidity leftovers, plus the agave fibers, plus soil from the same place that was like just there piled up.
That's amazing.
So we took that and we sort of developed with a manual compressor, just like manually compressing the bricks, laying them in the sun for 10 days. And we've been doing more than 30,000 since we first started doing them. Manually pressed
bricks that you sun dry.
Step by step.
That is fucking crazy.
So it's crazy because of the people that were distilling before and were doing only agave process, they are doing and building the new project now.
Of which they'll be a part.
Right? They will, exactly. So they're at the same time being part from scratch from the same project that they will be working on.
They use that term, which in this case is literal, but they use it metaphorically and say in at the ground floor. They're building the ground floor. That's incredible. Yeah.
That's it. So this part has been amazing. We started distilling there our first batch of Ancestral. Mm-hmm. That was the very first thing that we made in the hacienda. And that was amazing. So going back to the question, the clay, honestly, in Durango, you get, even if when you go to the mountains, you're going to see in most of the cases the el caso of copper, because Durango, it's a minor state, and a lot of minerals are extracted, more silver and other minerals as well. So it has always have that influence. So you're mostly going to find this copper
cap or something.
Exactly, and then the Filipino wooden steel in the traditional ones. But then we went to one village. Christian was doing some scouting, and he found I do not recall if it was in Yonora or even in some places of Mezquital, and he found like residual of clay, of arcilla in the base, and he was like, wow. So they actually did some clay as well.
How old was this artifact you found?
It's crazy. So I who knows how old it was, because it was like an abandoned. Because back in the day they were building where the agave or the Sotol was close by. So they were moving to the next sort of manchon of agave, and they put in a second one. So what they found with the verificador and with the people of this place is the clay as well, or the arcilla. And so he was like, okay, let's put clay pots in the base, and then let's keep the Filipino wooden steel. So
okay, yeah, talk me through this.
Yeah, so instead you just replacing the copper the copper
cap.
base cap exactly with the clay. So we're gonna have that in the base and the wooden Filipino steel that is a classic colonial steel in this region of Durango. So it's great. We build that a little vinata, if trying to emulate that process with the clay and with the Filipino. And this is the first batch, the masparillo that we did there, and it's amazing.
It's so delicious.
Oh yeah, it's really the agave. It's just amazing.
This one I didn't. When we were talking the other night, to me it still reminds me of flat cherry Coke. Like that's the note I get. And that's how, if I use that one, then I can always go back and be like, that's more masparillo.
Correct. But it's so pleasant, and it evolves a lot in the nose when you pour it, and if you smell it a few seconds afterwards, in a minute, it's so nice and well-rounded in the agave notes, and again, it's just a pleasant expression.
It's beautiful. And did you? Because to my knowledge, and I have just a little bit of knowledge. Yeah, there's lots to go around, but I don't recall any other commercially available mezcal from Durango that has been distilled in clay.
Well, to be honest, I don't know of other one myself. What I heard from Comercam that we are the first ancestral certified mezcal brand from Durango. Which it doesn't mean that we invented the black, how we say in Spanish, el hilo negro. But I believe we were the first to bring it to market.
That's such a huge achievement, and that regardless of how people feel about mezcal, they need to recognize that that's a monumental thing.
Totally.
And roughly how many liters was this batch?
This batch was 2 pallets.
Oh,
so okay. We did 2 pallets, and that was the total production. And it was like we kept distilling. So in this collection, we basically go and we try to do these different agaves of Durango. So to be able to take care of the agaves, like the populations, and just that's why we do the special releases instead of being putting it in an artisanal, like more widely available range.
Yeah.
So we only did this amount of bottles, and then masparillo, it's gone, and we won't be doing masparillo until we finish all of the agaves from our collection, and then we might be going back to masparillo.
Man, it's incredible. And so how many states now?
So it's 52 states. So if you divide the 1,400 bottles per 52, it's gonna be pretty much what comes to the table. So just basically a few cases per state, and that's it. So this is like one of the last bottles remaining here.
Yeah, I hear they're on shelves somewhere. So
exactly. Yes, there's a few bottles here and there in independent stores. So it's so fun. But that's the idea with this collection, to be featuring these agaves in a respectable way, that we can make a more smaller production.
Yeah, like a limited edition.
Exactly, just limited and keep it, because these are amazing flavors that we want everyone to try.
And there's no other place that tastes like this. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, the Durango has specific flavor to it. And where you're fermenting at the hacienda or the viñata, is it get pretty cold up there? Yeah, well, it's fun because the outside climate, it's more like arid. Okay. But in winter, it does get cold in Durango. Well, for sure, it's a big state, so you can have snow in some Mexiquillo, but here it's warmer. But we have a microclimate there because we are like just at river level. Oh, really? Okay. So if you go up, just like nothing, man, like walking, literally, it's gonna be more a drier vegetation. But in there, it's more forest and albinos. So it's so micro that you can just walk up a hill. Oh yeah. And you can even go, like, for example, if you go like in dry season, if you go like in April, March, you're gonna see like definitely like an African savanna. Oh, what? Like super dry, yellow bushes and stuff. But if you go in rainy season like now, you're gonna see like super green, massive like
remember that Durango, and especially this place where we're at, it's a tropic of Cancer.
Yeah.
It's basically there, so it divides the tropical climate from the arid climate.
So it's just right on
so
that
it's
line.
just in that line.
That's
basically great. So we get that really there. Again, in rainy season, we have massive sort of snakes by the pool. There's not a pool, like a pila. It's more like wild, jungle-ish, tropical vegetation. And then if you go in winter, it's dry. It's just like dry and it's more like it's just super. It changes dramatically.
So much. That's interesting.
So if you try a batch, for example, winter, summer, or even other seasons of the year, it's going to be changing a lot because of the east. It's being wild and having all this change of climate.
Some of it dies too, right?
Oh yeah,
because it gets so cold.
Oh yeah.
So we were hanging out at Las Perlas last week. Finally get to meet you and meet Joel and sip through the stuff. And the Sotol, I mean, there's so many conversations to have, but the Sotol you guys are doing in Durango is cool too. The botanical Mezcal, you call it what you want to call it, but it was a good conversation about that stuff. But we got to try this ensemble that you're coming out with, which is going to be something that's probably annual release, something like that, biannual.
Yeah. So this ensemble, that's it's so good because at the end we have our cenizo. And why cenizo? Cenizo is the most widely available agave in Durango. Right. So that's like our artisanal brand. And then we have the Ancestral with the wild, but we believe we were missing like a step in between the artisanal cenizo and the 100 proof plus Ancestral wild agaves. So we actually we did one experimentation of a batch of verde in Nombre de Dios, and it's the verde is just like really different, more more green more
pepper.
vegetable, green pepper, spice, but with a nice sweetness to it. And we actually tried we were drinking and we tried like a cenizo with verde,
just poured
just pouring it, and it was like, wow, this is like really tasty because you got all this pepper and more intense funky nice aromas of the verde, but with the sweetness and the fruitiness of cenizo.
So you get just a wider swath.
Totally. So we actually came up with this ensemble. This is the bottle that we're tasting is one of our first. It's from the first batch of ensemble, and we want ensemble. It's gonna be actually we wanted to have on a constant basis on the artisanal line to be that bridge to the ancestral. It comes at 46%, so again it's more full mouthful, more intensity, but a lot of complexity to it. And that's what we wanted to be able to scale. But those are the ones that we're going to keep in the artisanal line for now. We'll see in the future, and then just the special editions for the ancestral.
I know you're not done. You're not done exploring. You're not done.
That's fun.
Right, exactly. Like for now, you're like, no, 3 is fine.
Exactly. And all of a sudden you're traveling and you have like 25.
Yeah, you're like, oh, maybe 6 isn't so bad. Because this ensemble is really special. You keep kind of expanding it. But one of the things I thought it was cool is that I'm in Austin.
Yeah.
And you moved to Austin.
That's crazy.
I like out of all the places, and I love that I was so excited that the weather's been decent.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, it's not that hot. And you're like, it's so hot.
Yeah.
So like, why did you pick Austin?
Totally. So we basically just wanted to launch before pandemic, and so we shipped product and then pandemic hit. So basically our bottles were moved from warehouse to warehouse, and it's until now that the market is reopening. And we're launching basically nationwide. So this is just a great opportunity that I know that is special, and I just don't want to pass by and make it worth. So I wanted to be with the people and to really be able to transmit the message. And Austin is in the middle of the country, man.
Yeah.
And it's not Dallas and it's not Houston. It's a smaller, more like nicer vibe, cool people, a young city, young people. So I didn't even know Austin before I decided to move to
You
Austin.
never been here?
I've never been
No
here.
kidding.
So I was like, let's go to Austin just because apparently it's pretty cool. And it's just in the middle of the state. So I can travel 3 hours to the west, 3 hours to the east.
That's fun. I had never thought about it logistically.
Oh, yeah.
That makes
Logistically,
sense.
I mean, airport-wise, for sure, Dallas or Houston especially would be way easier and faster. But I just don't want to, if I'm moving from Mexico City, that it's a nice city, that we have a lot of things, and it's just like so much fun. I want a different city that I can walk in. I can do some other things that I couldn't do in Mexico City.
Yeah.
So walk more and do more outdoors activities. And Austin, apparently, and it's been amazing. Only 3 months here. I'm traveling most of the time, so I'm still new to Austin, but it's super fun. And yeah, I'm still gonna be here at least for another year and a half until we do a proper launch in the whole country.
Yeah, that's great. And when it's good, because then we can go drink Mezcal together,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I can get you to work for me when we're harvesting Sotol, which
Absolutely,
which is a great
coming.
thing to have free labor in some sense.
Oh, yeah.
And I love to bring bottles out on those harvests, stuff that we can sip as a team out there. But so I got a couple questions left for you.
Yeah.
And one of the things over the years when I've been interviewing folks that have it's familial. The brands actually are built on family. Whether it's a father who's been distilling for a long time and passes it to his son or his daughter. I know you just got married last year, but do you think about kids, and do you think about that legacy of what hands to leave this in?
Yeah, I agree, Christian. So first of all, again, this is for us is like a marathon. So definitely we want to keep, and the fun thing is that I'm with my brother.
Yeah.
So that's what we want, like to keep it up. If for sure, I want my kids to start working with us eventually, like we did. Harvesting and all that part of the process, especially when you're young, that would be my dream, how I vision my little kids like going and work, just helping here, helping there.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a legacy that I would love, and I envision to be able to have.
And I can see it.
Yeah, it's like I remember in Cancun, one of my first jobs when I was 13, it was ayudante de albañil. So I was a helper of the guy that was building. Mm-hmm. So I was like in the summer carrying rocks. For sure, it was just probably half day, and it was a friend of the father of my friend. But we're doing this hard work that it was like really hard work. But we learned so much because you saw the people that were living on that wage, and you weren't, and you bought a cell phone, or not even a cell phone, an iPod, or and these people were like eating, they lived on that salary. So the appreciation, the level, that's something that is just amazing, and I would love my kids to learn the beauty of the work.
Yes.
That's it.
The process. The hard physical work.
The respect for the people.
Yeah. You know what I always say, and this is again kind of a metaphor, but if you've never played a tour, you haven't played clubs and carried an Ampeg 6 speaker bass cabinet up some stairs to just play a gig, then you do not know you got to carry the heavy amps around.
Oh yeah.
It's part of it.
It's part of it.
Dues,
it's part of it. Same thing.
And I'm not a bitter old man or any of that, but it builds character, because it sucks most of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes, despite how much that moment might be inconvenient or kind of suck a little bit, when you have the thing and you did it, you're like, oh, that was well worth it. Always worth it.
Totally. Hard work is always pays off. Always.
I think so.
So it's amazing. And I mean, I started with my now wife 8 years ago, when I basically was starting in my mezcal trajectory. So she knows this is for the life, and she was like,
and she still married you.
Exactly. She still married me. And my brother, he's unmarried. He's 27. So I believe we're very still quite young. And we're in a good point to be able to grow this inner families with our future.
It's just the beginning. Yeah. All right. So last question for you. And I asked this of everybody, but I'll tweak it a little bit for you. So let's say you're anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where, and you're sipping this Marsparillo with any singer, living or deceased. Who might you like to sit down and have a mezcalito with?
Oh my God, that's hard question. Living and alive, man. Wow. So good question, and it's a difficult one to answer right away without
it is, 'cause there's so many,
putting
right?
a thought. Oh yeah, there's so many great singers that I appreciate and love. Wow. A good singer that I would be. You caught me.
Well,
I wasn't.
Everybody they kind of have a script and
expecting-
stuff, and I love music. I know you love music,
Oh
and
my
I'm always
gosh.
thinking about music.
I wasn't expecting that one. And I'm imagining the moment of sharing this mezcal with this singer.
Yeah.
Well, let me just change your question to a bit.
Sure.
One composer that I appreciate,
composers.
a composer that I've like lately. I've been listening to a lot of his stuff, like Hans Zimmer.
Oh yeah.
And just like how versatile he is on his composing, from any movie to some more deeper stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that versatility that he has in his composing. I personally think he's a brilliant man, and I would definitely love to share a mezcal with him.
And all musicians, unless they're post rehab, love mezcal.
Oh yeah.
So
exactly.
And Hans Zimmer, for how cerebral some of his stuff is and how accessible, I think it's a great choice. And
he might be very geeky too,
I bet.
So that's what I'm figuring, to be able to to discuss further all the aromas, the expressions that.
I think that would work perfectly.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure, getting to meet you past couple weeks, and then finally we made this thing happen.
For
after
sure,
all this.
Hermano. Thank you so much. It's been super fun, and I hope this is not the last time, and we'll be definitely talking about mezcal in Texas and in the U.S.
I hope so.
And showing a lot of Sotol, mezcal, and this beautiful agave and desert spirits.
Yeah, Durango love, man.
Durango,
All
exactly.
Right.
Durango love.
Talk soon. See.
Thanks.
Well, there we have it. Alejandro Rossbach of Maguey Spirits. We're sipping through some of that Burrito Mezcal. Gotta say, when I first tried mezcales from Durango, I wasn't so into it. But now, knowing how much they change over time, you're gonna get every element of taste in these mezcales, and it's really an amazing experience. Something I think is very, very enriching. And the fact that Alejandro and his brother were drawn to Durango, and then they're working and they're creating this new hacienda out there. I've seen some pictures of it, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Just some amazing details about the history of mezcal and Alejandro's journey. So thanks so much for sitting down and chatting with me. Now that you're in Austin, I suppose there's a bit more mezcal in the cards. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how many times you've watched River's Edge, because Crispin Glover's a strange actor, but Keanu Reeves is kind of dreamy, or if you're thinking, I don't really ever get a day off, do I? Please keep dancing.